Well, listen to Freddie Hubbard's never a bad thing to do, but I will say that the real tendency I think that we tend to do is lock ourselves into just trumpet players, and there's a lot of wonderful music and invention out there that if you'll listen to, I mean, you can learn stuff from listen to percussion instruments, if you really try to do that. Um, so I think it's mostly just getting off the fact that all jazz is played by a trumpet player. And just because you play the trumpet doesn't mean it all has to be limited to what the easy stuff to do on the trumpet is. There's some great players out there who have really learned how to make some crazy. I mean, even with synthesized trumpets, you can even just still play them with the three buttons. Even doing that is opening your ears and mind to options that it's real easy to get locked into. And so you have to constantly be listening. If the only instruments you listen to are trumpet, you're only gonna be able to do those. But if you try playing some flute music or listen to great classical players and listen to the astounding precision and technique that they have, trying to develop some of that into your playing as well, then you're going to have lots of interesting things to say as a player.
Yeah, yeah. And that's I forget who I was talking with about this. I know there are people that gain inspiration not just from other musicians or musical instruments, but gain inspiration from other arts. So the use, the way that a painter will use certain color combinations or strokes, which kind of are reminiscent to the way that we might want to phrase something, or the way dancers move, or things like that. That there's so many different things that can inspire us, and any level of inspiration should eventually be able to be translated into an expression through our instrument. So, I mean, have you ever suggested to your students, that concept of like playing around with taking ideas from something that's not, I mean, completely removed from music?
Yeah, absolutely. The room that I teach in, not this year, but the room that I normally teach in is on the same hallway as the dance studios. And I urge my students to go take a look at that. Try to play what they're dancing. Try to take that inspiration and make something out of it. I think we should be listening to classical music. I mean, a lot of the great classical composers did some really crazy, far out stuff. Stuff that was way off the Bach and Beethoven kind of concept. And I feel like the more we listen and the more we watch, the more inspiration we have. I actually had a student whose girlfriend was a dancer, and they worked out an entire program of trumpet and dance, and a keyboard player and a harp.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really interesting. It was really incredibly interesting. And the trumpet ended up making sounds and music that really you wouldn't have expected him to be playing. And the good news is, I love bebop, but there was no bebop in that performance, and it was stuff that people wouldn't normally hear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's we can be inspired by almost anything, and we just need to have our ears open to make that happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and speaking of inspirations, you were talking about your teacher earlier that inspired you in so many ways and gave you that guidance. Were there any like other kind of pivotal moments for you where it's like there was just something that kind of helped you to make sense of things and to move you in a direction that ultimately now you're looking at and going, yeah, this is exactly what I needed at this point in time?
Yeah, mostly it was I had instructors that would encourage me to listen, and there was a period of time where I was just working on shedding on the horn, getting the valves to work and do all of that stuff. But I wasn't really listening a lot. I will say that I can remember, so I'm older than maybe some of your other guests have been, but I can remember listening to Bill Chase the first time. Not the world's greatest jazz player at all, but it was a whole brand new kind of playing, as was, Maynard and other players like him that really brought a lot of excitement. That wasn't just tonal. It was just what the range was on the trumpet, what the abilities, what notes are possible that a lot of people weren't thinking. Obviously this goes back to Bud Brisbois and guys like that a long, long time ago. But as a young kid in high school in white bread land, it was hearing Bill Chase play for the first time that made me realize, oh, that's possible to do.
Yeah.
And it's like anything else. We have to learn. We have to have people show us what is achievable, and if we're never exposed to it, then we're not going to really know about it.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing to do is to listen to what's going on around you. And think of all the composers, especially the avant-garde style composers, who use sounds of the street in the music, street construction and things like that in a performance of their music. And it's not everybody's cup of tea, but it's kind of putting into action, what if I could find a way to use these sounds in what I'm doing, and these ideas in what I'm doing. And it's easy to get stuck. It's easy to say, I'm practicing my Arbin book or whatever book you're practicing out of, and really not get your face out of that. But if you'll just listen and try to recreate, you may not do it exactly, but you might come up with something new.